To the black members in our community, we see you and love you. We honor you and are here today to support you. My name is Messiah Morenci. Tori Bowser and I will merely serve as a vessel for the black voices of Pelham that have felt unheard for quite some time. We want to work with our town officials so that we can be counted for and represented properly, so that our struggles and stories are heard, so that our needs are met and we can represent this town to our fullest.
The black experience in Pelham is one unique to this town. I'm sure every alumni here could count on less than 2 hands how many black people were in their class. And even further, I'm sure you could probably name most, if not all of them. That is a direct reflection on the small representation that black voices have in this community as well as this country. A representation that we want to grow and give a platform here today. We all need to be represented and heard so that the entire community is counted for. We want to change the status quo so that the black voices are not undermined and are not a small part of this community. And we have a right to be heard. We have a right to be represented. We are still fighting for our place at the table, and we need you to help us for that change to happen. We need to further bring those traumas, issues, and these uncomfortable conversations out of the darkness and into the light. To walk down the streets together in unison as we did today for many days after that. To hear how we can change, hear what we need from you to help us be better and be a part of our community. For you to come here today and to open your hearts, your ears, and your minds to the pains and obstacles that we have faced here today as black people in this country.
Pelham is nice. The homes are nice. The schools are nice. A lot of the people, friends, teachers, administrators, politicians, most people are nice in Pelham. This is one of the many reasons we chose to raise our family here. But all of the niceness does not negate the pervasive and systemic racism that exists. It is evident in the racial makeup of many of our institutions here and in the country in general. Bridges of Pelham was created by 3 black moms, Janice, myself, and a friend of ours who has since left Pelham because of some of the issues she's experienced, as a place of community, support, and advocacy for black families and families with black children who might experience that racism right here in nice Pelham. Our name is inspired by Ruby Bridges, known for being the first child to desegregate an all-white school in the South. Bridges of Pelham is a community within a community that advocates for the safety and well-being of our children in the school district, and our families in Pelham. We have made good strides in developing a partnership with the school administrators who have taken the time to hear our concerns and have taken some real visible steps towards progress. But still, the anxiety that arises from dropping your black child off in a building where he or she is one of very few, if not the only black face, is not easy. Again, even knowing that many of the white faces belong to people who are nice, the fears and anxiety that many parents of black children feel does not just go away. For we are well aware and continuously and painfully all too often reminded that systemic racism is alive and well, and it can threaten the very lives of our children. That is our reality.
If you're a parent and you have a child and your child attends school, realize that racism, there are many layers to it. It can come in many forms. It could be a teacher underestimating the black child's ability because he's black. It could be excluded from party invitations because we don't play with brown girls. These are quotes, by the way. This stuff hurts. It could be institutional, or it could be based on individual interaction. And your children are all born with a light inside of them. And when they have to go to school as young children, and experience racism that you have to then explain to them. It diminishes their light. And you want your child to graduate to be the best that they can be. Whether that be the best carpenter or the best scientist. But they're going to be deprived of that opportunity if we don't all come together to act and protect all children, regardless of color. Practice inclusion. Invite the kids over to your house. Invite the parents over for dinner. This should be one community. But I have to say this. When I stood on the lawn of the Pelham Library this morning, I live just 3 doors down from the library. And I saw the amount of people who gathered from the Manor side to come out and be here today. And then I got here and I saw all of you. I'm encouraged and I'm inspired. And I think through all of you, my child's generation and all of your children's generation will have a more just world. Thank you.
I want to point your attention to the call to defund both Pelham police departments as they stand now so that we can invest other social services. That are needed in the district we represent. In an article from the Pelham Examiner titled Benefits of Merging the Two Towns of Pelham by Ben Glickman, his report that Pelham has an annual crime rate of 0.85 violent crimes and 12.25 property crimes per 1,000 residents compared to national rates of 3.757 violent crimes and 25.96 property crimes per 1,000 residents. In other words, Pelham has an above average size police force for below average rates of crime. Therefore, I urge you to consider the effort to defund the police as it stands within this town because of our lack of violent crimes and because it is a perpetuation of violence in our own communities.
Just because the prejudice against George Floyd was caught on camera doesn't mean that this type of mistreatment doesn't happen off the camera and our fears don't exist. I wasn't raised to see color, nor was I raised to be afraid of police. I was raised to be peaceful and treat everyone as I'd like to be treated. Racial injustice needs to be brought to the forefront of everyone's attention now to lay foundation for a future where we can understand both sides of our stories. Police and lawmakers need to understand that we should all be held accountable for our actions, regardless of our place in society or our workplace badges. Everything you see going on today is laying that foundation. Sometimes we need to break societal norms to build better ones. Support of this movement is support of a society with no racial disparity and a step closer to the dismantling of the systematic oppression Black people and other people of color face every day. Thank you. I will now perform a piece that I wrote. I titled it, I Don't Know About You. I just want to live. I feel like I haven't had a chance to. Everyone is a threat. My whole life is on the line because my skin is different. Got raised different, grew up different. I'm Black and I'm proud, but most times it feels like my soul is missing. I hate how this always turns into a race thing like NASCAR, because we can't rub in circles to erase the issues and scars of the past. There's not enough tissues to pick up the tears we've dropped, or pills to cure our anxieties and disbelief that we're still fighting the same battles we were fighting in the 1960s and the 2020s. Not to mention, it's been a lot longer than that. There's systems in place to build glass ceilings for people that look like me, but our textbooks and curriculums won't teach us that. I just want to live. For the most part, I've been treated right. Matter of fact, most of my friends are white, and my past girlfriends too. Seems I spent most of my time doing my best to blend in. Who knew? I did. Had to change the way I talked, the way I walked, how I dress. I'm shy at first until you talk to me because I don't want you to get the wrong impression and start a mess. Speak only when spoken to, so that way I'm not a threat. No matter how much blending in I did, I was always different. Friends making racial jokes and using slurs because they knew they hit me like a fastball. I mean, we're just kids. It's probably normal. Who am I kidding? Being an outcast sucks. If this is what I gotta do to be cool, then so be it. But that was grade school, and now I'm older. I understand I'm not white. And now I'm not black enough for the kids that I actually look like. I'm lost sometimes, feeling like Marco. When people say polo, I'm not sure which way to go in the pool. I just want to live. It's bigger than black and white. This is about doing what's right. I'm tired of being anxious to go for a run in the daytime or going home alone at night. That I might get profiled as a criminal because of my skin and my height. That I'll be treated different, either by a judge eager to take away my rights, or a policeman sworn to protect and serve brings me a steak and shortcuts my life. Because he thought my ID was a gun or a knife, or his kneel or chokehold wasn't meant to make me see the light. That officer would see that same judge and get a slap on the wrist, and that ain't right. I have some serious fears. One of the biggest is having my young face plastered on a memorial t-shirt like Trayvon or Tamir's. Having my unjust death be the new face of this same civil rights movement for the next set of protests and outrage, riots and tear gas, looting and shooting. Then soon after, everyone returns to their normal lives until the cycle repeats again. I just want to live.
8 years ago, my children started in the elementary school here, and God willing, in September, we'll be the third generation to walk through the halls of Pelham Memorial High School. Initially, I noticed when they started school that when students got in trouble who were white, the school system had downplayed some of those incidents. But however, for black students, the punishment was more severe or elevated. I have 11-year-old twins at that time who started, and they were called from 6th grade through 8th grade a racial slur. And I'm sure everyone here knows what that word is. They were also told by some of their classmates that they needed to go back to their slave master. Yes. Yeah. When those same students were disciplined for their behavior, the shock, the apathy, and anger of those parents, of those students who were racially discriminating against my children was appalling. It was a slap in the face to all black parents everywhere.
First, to add on to what Chris was saying, the amount of times that people in this town have come up to me and pulled on my hair is absolutely absurd. And if you don't know that that is extremely offensive, now you know, don't do it again. Okay, so these next few demands are in relation to the schools in this town. As a student of color, I feel that the Pelham Memorial High School could do significantly more to be part of the change for racial justice in this world. Particularly, I feel that Pelham has a responsibility to promote education addressing issues of systemic racism while also supporting and uplifting black people. I demand that in the future the district regularly hosts both student and adult workshops with guest speakers addressing topics ranging from white supremacy to systemic racism and the role Pelham students and their parents have in working toward racial justice in the future. Racism and racial biases are learned and therefore they can be unlearned. I also urge a curriculum that teaches racism in an unbiased way, which means that history needs to be taught from different perspectives other than just white man's history, which we know leaves out experiences of so many other groups. The groups that are left out have helped shape this country and this world, and they need to be heard from. Furthermore, I encourage you to continue the effort of mandatory anti-racism training for the teachers and the whole administration. We have spoken to Dr. Champ, the superintendent of schools, who has informed us that over the past 2 years, the school has been going through training with all the staff to help get rid of racial biases and racism within our schools. This is a great start, and hopefully the school will do more in the future. I am proud to have graduated from Pelham, but when I look back on my time, I reflect on the ways that the schools have helped in the effort to promote racial justice, could have helped in the effort to promote racial justice. Though it is a trending topic right now, racial justice must always be at the forefront of discussion and most importantly in our school system for the betterment of the future. As this movement moves forward, this town needs to put education at the forefront of your minds. You'll need to go out and continue to educate yourselves, your children, your parents, and your friends long after these protests have stopped. The fight for racial justice is going to be long and hard, but if you push yourselves to learn more, the fight will be so much easier. Thank you.
I am now going to talk about things you can all do as white allies on a smaller scale. First, all of you need to start assuming that racism is everywhere and occurs every day, because in reality it does. As a white ally, this can be difficult to do because racism is not something you encounter on a personal level. A great way to begin is to educate yourselves in all the ways that Nora mentioned in the last section of demands. The more you know, the better you will see the reality of racism in this world. Once you can do this, you can truly start to make change and look out for your black friends and family members. Next, you will need to take a stand against any and all injustice that you witness. If you do nothing, you are allowing racism to flourish, and therefore you are on the side of racism.
I want you to close your eyes and think of a world or a community where all the institutions, governmental and social, led by elected or appointed officials, and many of the committees and other groups that contribute to the social and civic life of that community are overwhelmingly and predominantly white. It would be outrageous to think that over the whole existence of that town, there have been so few black spaces allowed into the white spaces, and that this would still be the case in 2020. And then I want you to open your eyes and look around, because this is our town. So, this is my request today. Dear white people, think about the microaggressions and institutionalized practices that are in place in these organizations in this community that do not make space for diverse voices. I am not here today to beg you for a space. I am here rather to amplify this situation, to hold up a mirror to this situation, and to demand change in practices and changes in perspectives. Thank you very much.
Some of the things I've heard growing up here from 6th grade to 12th grade. You're not like the other black kids, Mina. There's black people and then there are niggers. How do you get into this AP class? Are you smart enough to be in honors? I'm your nigga, right, Mina? We cool. I like you a lot, but my parents would kill me if I brought a black girl home. I can't talk to you anymore because my friends are making fun of me for liking you and you're always talking about race. Why are you so angry all the time? Why do you have to point out everything all the time? And then the principal pulled me aside one day and told me, Mina, you talk too much about race and it's making everyone uncomfortable. I think we need to tone it down. I am angry, and I am a black woman. And if that makes me an angry black woman, then you should be too. You should be an angry white woman, you should be an angry white man, you should be an angry Asian man, you should all be angry. We are all angry. And if you know anything about anger, it's just a manifestation of pain. I'm so angry because I'm hurting so much. We're talking about George Floyd. Toro, who lives down the street, got shot 30 times in Mount Vernon last month. Say his name. There's someone who grew up here his whole life, got shot and killed because of violence. But when he was in high school, y'all called him a thug. Y'all called him violent. Y'all called him ghetto and ratchet. That boy needed a hug. That boy needed therapy and counseling to see him outside of him being a black man angry and getting in detention. Why are we putting our kids in detention? They need counseling. They're coming from broken homes in Pelham. There's broken homes in Pelham. There's pain in Pelham. There's poverty in Pelham. Just because you're living your nice, rich life, on the other side of those train tracks, no, there's our kids are hungry. Everyone wants to say the N-word. There's kids walking around little kids
hearing nigger in their ear. Y'all want to say the N-word, but they're hearing the word. And you guys need to hear it too.